Okay, hi everybody. In this video, we're going to look at two techniques that you can use in your micro compositions. The first one being the sample roll. And that's what it sounds like. So this works really well with percussion. I'm going to use a kick drum in this case. You get a different effect using a snare. So the first thing we need to do is take a copy of it. And I've got my grid set to 32s. I'm using Command and T to split that in half. You could also use the pencil tool. I'm then going to just snip the very end bit off it because that's going to be a little bit too quiet. And I'm then going to use Command and R to repeat that. And once I've done that, it gives us just a little stuttery kick drum. So if we then highlight all of them, right click, go to bounce and join and select bounce in place. And you could also use the keyboard shortcut Control and B. And then just trim off the loud kick drum from the start of that and delete the copies that you've done. So that just gives us the stutters. We can then use the fade tool to create a fade in. And I'm just going to make that a little bit more logarithmic instead of a straight line. And then, just to make it a bit more apparent in the mix, I'm going to apply some overdrive, give it a good healthy amount of drive, but just knock the output down a touch. And set the tone somewhere where it's not too clicky, but also not too muffled. And there we go. Let's listen to that in the mix instead of the original one. So a cool little transition technique for rising into different sections. Now let's look at pitch risers and also pitch fallers using alchemy. So that was the riser. Let's listen to the faller at the other side of the chorus. So a really cool way to just raise the energy into the chorus and drop it into the verses again. So what we're going to want to do is create a new software instrument with Alchemy. And when it opens up, you can see all these orange areas around the knobs. Now they mean that they're already being modulated. So we want to go to File and Initialize Preset, and that's going to give us a blank slate. It will give us one oscillator with a saw wave. And if you go into that oscillator source and just raise up the unison amount, that'll just give us a fatter waveform. I'm going to copy down, that's just a root note. In this case, I think it's C. And I'm just going to turn the volume down within Alchemy, because otherwise it's going to be hella loud. Could also do this on the channel fader. So that just gives us one long saw wave. Now you're going to get different effects depending on what you use here. But the main thing we want to do is go to this coarse tuning and apply an envelope. So a new ADSR envelope. You can click on that edit button just to make sure you're editing that envelope. We can see we're editing envelope 2. We can swap it to sync. And then we will see our attack value in musical divisions. So I want to go all the way to 2 to make it 2 bars long and make it a straight line. And if I raise that depth to 24 semitones, that's going to give us 2 octaves. And we can see that orange bar on the edge of the coarse tuning tells us where it's going to do it. So what I'm doing now, I'm just playing with the coarse tuning, knocking it down a couple of octaves. So it raises from a low point up to the note that I've played in. And I've just put a little bit of a longer attack on there, release on there, sorry. That's what it'd sound like at 0 semitones on the course, at minus 12. Yeah, I quite like it at minus 12. Now another thing I'm going to do here is apply some modulation to the cutoff so that the frequencies are changing as that develops. So the first thing I'm going to apply to the cutoff is a sequencer. And the sequencer is going to change that rhythmically. Obviously the higher them blocks are, the higher the cutoff's going to be. And when they're lower, you're going to have a low cutoff. And then little clicks at the bottom, they link them. So they create like a little bit of a rhythmic slide. And as you raise the depth, you'll see that orange bar appear around the edge of the cutoff. And that shows you how much it's modulating it. So we can hear that as that pitch is rising, the cutoff is also bouncing around. Going to add a little bit of drive and resonance. And I'm also going to add that same envelope, that second envelope that's doing the pitch. Also going to have that control the cutoff. So I'm going to turn my cutoff down and raise the depth of that envelope. So you should hopefully hear that as the pitch rises, the cutoff and the amount of modulation is also getting higher. So on this effect, I'm also going to add some EQ, scoop out that low end, just so that it's not too subby in the mix and clashing with anything. And I'm also going to add some stereo delay, just to give it a bit of a bounce around the stereo field. So 1/8 dotted and 1/8. Just makes the effect a bit more full, really. And then let's listen to this in the mix. So dead fast little sound, just to transition between sections. As I said, depending on what waveforms and everything you have active, it's going to give it a different sound. And then, to make this a faller, all we really need to do is change the envelope depth on the coarse tuning, change that into negatives. So use it as negative 24 semitones. And then we'll have to change the overall coarse tuning, probably put that up by 12 or 24 semitones. So then because that's on negative, the attack is actually working in reverse. You could also do that with positive envelope depth and using the decay to create the falling instead. So you have an instant attack and then you use the decay over 2 bars to create that falling. So yeah, give these both a go. They're really, really quick techniques to do if you follow this video along, and they instantly improve your piece. Enjoy.